Welcome back to the dating and relationship playbook with Chaz. And this is a podcast where we discuss having, maintaining, and improving healthy relationships, and not just relationships with our spouse or significant other, but relationships with our family, friends, colleagues, and God. And this is the relate my relationship story part two. um, I did a part one where I had my brother Drew Allen on, who did a great job. And one of the things I will say is, um, I got a lot of texts, calls, and messages about the podcast and how it was how we I was transparent and share my story. And so I really appreciate that. It was only like a couple things that I will say that I pretty much said everything, but it's like a few things that I was like, I wanted to share this with the viewers and with my audience about on that situation. I think Drew did a good job of getting the getting pretty much my story, sharing all that I wanted to share, sharing what I think was important. A couple things that, or some things that I wanted to talk about that I did not was the fact that, some of the fears that I had after that, some of the things that I thought about, reflected on after that. One is, um, that I did feel bad that I um I felt bad that I contributed. And when I say contributed, one, I wasn't responsible. I don't put that all on me being responsible for her and that family breaking up, or that family, yeah, dispersing. I don't I feel like I did contribute to that, and I really do feel bad about that because I know that during that time I contributed to kids going through a negative experience, and that was a part that was something that I do feel bad about. And I would never want that to happen to anybody else. Like I said, I'm not taking full responsibility because I was not, those weren't my kids. I wasn't married. That was that was on her, but I take accountability, like I did not help with that. So that was one thing. And so the fear that came to mind was that after that happened, I felt like, man, will that happen to me? Like, will I marry somebody and then when I get married, somebody is going to, my wife is going to cheat on me? You know what I mean? Or some guy's going to come up and I'm going to reap that. And now it was that was like that was a fear of mine. It's no longer that. I do feel like since I've forgiven, and since that wasn't my character, that wasn't a pattern that I had of being around, breaking up families and being with married women or anything like that. That just it just happened with her. But I would say that um it's no longer a fear that when I get married, my wife's gonna cheat on me. Now it has crossed my mind, and I was like, man, I don't know like what I would do. I don't know. But that was a fear of mine that I would one day get married and similar to this, similar to that situation, be in a relationship and then eventually someone coming in and uh disrupting my marriage. Another thing that I want the listeners, I want people to kind of take from what I learned and my experience is that, and to go back is, I know that because I went through this experience, um, when I am married, I will not, I will put myself in position to not have a, not commit adultery, put myself in a position to not have an affair. As far as if I'm seeing someone, if I see a woman, I'm not going to engage, because I know that if you engage, or if you what's the word? Yeah, engage, or um speak that some things can come out of that are that will impact your relationship, your marriage. So I wouldn't entertain it, I wouldn't engage it, and then I know I wouldn't want my kids and my family to go through a um divorce or a separation based on me not having self-control. And me, because it really, that's exactly what is like, you just don't have self-control, or you're not putting yourself in position, because you really lose more than you gain when you step out on your, when you have an affair, when you commit adultery, and then lose everything, because that's what happens a lot of time when you do that. So that is that experience has showed me, like, hey, I mean, you lose trust with your family, with your kids, like when they know that you did something like that. It's hard to, and I don't even have kids, so I can imagine if I did, and they found out, or it came out that I cheated on their mom, like, that's going to be an issue. So that's one thing that, going back to that, it kind of put that, knowing how that impact, if I feel bad about impacting somebody else's family, I'm gonna definitely think about and reflect on how that will impact my family. Another thing that I didn't share, that I went through or I experienced, that I want people to understand about my relationship, that story, or that experience of my life, is when you engulf yourself with uh I'm just gonna use relationship, because that's what we on. When you engulf yourself with an individual, somebody you're dating, and it's like you're just thinking about them, and you kind of lose your. And I lost myself. I did feel myself kind of like not being who I was, because I was engulfed in somebody else, and I was really trying to please and um yeah, accommodate somebody else. So, and I lost myself doing that. And then I also can say that if you do that, is you're putting that person in a position that only God should be in, when you're just kind of like, hey, I'm just for this, I got to do this for this person. I got to do that for, I'm just thinking about this person. I'm just thinking about her. Or if you're in that position, it's not a good position to be in, because then there's, you don't have space for yourself. You don't have space for God when you just put yourself in, and you're just diving into somebody else, and their wants and their needs and their um what they, the things that they got going on, and you kind of like lose who you are. And so, like I said, that's not a good position to be in. And that's something that I learned. And the only one that's going to get everything is God for me. Obviously, God, I'm gonna, when I find my wife, I'm gonna give her my all, but God is gonna be number one, because I just put out a podcast with Pastor Scott LaPierre, and he was like, he tells um individuals, couples that come to him for marriage counseling, he tells them, hey, if you get your relationship, the vertical relationship together, which is our man's relationship or human relationship with God, then our horizontal relationships will take care of themselves. So um my objective, my goal, my expectations now are to make sure my vertical relationship with God, with Christ, is where it needs to be, and then my relationship with my wife is going to take care of itself, because um the number one commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. So if I love God, he's really going to direct me, and he's going to direct me and guide me into how to love my wife and how to love my children. And that's what, some of the things that I um I learned and reflected on, and I'm like, okay, that's what I'm going to implement when I in that position. So um before I close, it's not gonna be long. I just wanted to share those few things, but um, I just want people to understand, like, the reason behind the podcast is like, I wanted I the reason why, the passion behind why I did the podcast, or why I'm doing the podcast, is not just to talk about relationships, which I like, but also to share with you all why I want people to have healthy relationships. I start the podcast. The podcast is about not just relationship with our significant other, our spouse, but having a healthy relationship with family, friends, um, and God. And so I want people to have healthy relationships, because I was in an unhealthy relationship, um and it impacted me, and I don't want people to go through that, and I want people to understand and to know what a healthy relationship looks like, what some aspects or some indicators of a healthy relationship. And that's why I'm going to have you know married couples, therapists, individuals on that can help us, dating coaches, individuals that can help have a healthy relationship. So, I'm on YouTube now, so I'm gonna, I hope that you subscribe, like, share the YouTube link, and I will also have my Patreon account or Patreon link in the description. If any individuals are looking to, further and build this podcast, which is growing, is not just, I mean, this is over 2 years now, and God's been good, because the podcast is being heard all around the world now. So you'll be contributing to not just individuals hearing good relationship advice and good and healthy relationship avenues, and how they can have healthy relationships here in America, but all over the world. So I am so thankful for you all that listen. I'm so thankful for the now that you can view it and support the podcast is in the Patreon link account. There's different ways that you can support, and is it be additional episodes, additional content, um downloadable downloadable books, uh paperback books, any all kinds of things that you would get for supporting the podcast. Again, this was This is the dating and relationship playbook with Chaz, where we discuss having, maintaining, and improving a healthy relationship with not just with our spouse and or significant others, but with family, friends, and God. And I just hope that the podcast or today you were able to put something in your playbook